Good nation. How are you guys? We haven't done this in a while in person. I think the last time we didn't remember this was. Oh yeah, I gotta look at the camera. Dan's gonna make sure I don't. I want to say hi to all our friends in the UP and up by Petoskey. You guys can hear us all right? You see us all right, JD? Test, you got it? All right. Well, welcome you guys. Can't believe it's already the fourth quarter of 2023. Here we go. And in traditional fashion, as I said in my Zoom meeting, our fourth quarter here is going to be full of a lot of opportunities for us to stay engaged and work through what is obviously a transitioning market. And we're really excited to have Dan here today to kick off this fourth quarter of things. And managers are getting together tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday, today's Tuesday, to kind of line up a lot of those things that we hope that you take advantage of. And we hope that some of the things that you will get out of Dan today will help you navigate this transitional market and then hit the ground running for spring of 2024. So we're really excited you made the trip. Who came the furthest? Houghton Lake, maybe? Houghton Lake? Anybody? Oh, John Griffin. John came, you came yesterday or did you come this morning? You came yesterday. Let's see, what a guy. All the way from Cedarville. All right, well, without any further ado, a little couple housekeeping. We're not breaking. So you guys can hop out to the restrooms or right around the corner, fill your coffee up as we go. Because I put this guy in my car and we're running south to do another road show here this afternoon. So at 11 o'clock, we're gonna hightail it out of here. But as Dan will probably mention, for Q&A, if there's things that happen after the 11 o'clock hour, if something comes on your way home and you think of a question, he's gonna open up a Zoom for us at 9 o'clock on Friday. And I'll send everybody the link. So if there's a follow-up or some questions that you want to have, maybe get Dan one-on-one, we'll give you that login information for Friday morning. And then him and I can scoot out of here right at 11 o'clock and hit the group down in the south part of the company. So with that said, you guys, you know who he is. It's always been a pleasure. He's my buddy, and I'm excited to have him here. Welcome, Dan Elzer.
Good morning, guys. And good morning to everyone at watch parties. It is such an honor to get to come back and see people with what I do in this world. It's I tell my wife all the time that I pinch myself that I get to do what I get to do. And the other part of it is I truly believe, and you've heard me say this, that we are in the greatest industry in the world. Real estate, to me, is the best business in the world because the only thing in the way of success is in our heads. I don't care what the market is, there is always opportunity in real estate. And having been in it for 36 years now, and if you know my story, I failed in the beginning. I almost went bankrupt. And I did that because I didn't follow skills and techniques. I did it my way. I've said to you before, my number one problem with failure in the beginning is I had that's not me disease. Every time they taught me something, I ran it through my head and went, that's not me. And I did it my way. And my way about bankrupted me. And when I learned to take what professional skill was all about and master it, make it mine, make it feel like I owned it. This job got so easy. It's a joke my wife has with me. She's always like, what will you do if speaking goes away? What will you do if, I said, I'll go sell real estate. I said, I'll always make money. And I don't care the market, I don't care the competition. When you have skill, when you have mastered skill, no one can beat you. Because we're in an industry that 90+% of your competitors out there couldn't spell skill, let alone demonstrate the skill. And that's why I get so excited in transitional markets. Anytime we come out of a market that was easy, and we go into a market that is normal, everyone thinks it's hard. And whenever people think it's hard, they become paralyzed. I was reading, and I cannot tell you the article or the person, I don't know if you saw this, Jason, but I read financial news every morning and I read real estate news. And in one of our trade magazines, one of the named partners of the trade magazine actually had an article about a month ago that in the middle of the article, it said these words: while we wait for the market to come back. Let me say that again. While we wait for the market to come back. This is someone that we should be following, telling us, well, it's normal that you wait now. You wait until the market comes back. Now, that's where I'm going to go with my opening thoughts for you. Write this down. Please have something to write with, guys. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of stuff. Are we recording? We are recording. So those who recorded, if there's some talk track that you want to get back to, we'll be able to get to it. But if you look at where we came to where we are, we were in a market that I've been defining in the past as a fear of missing out market. Never in my 36 years did I see a 2 7/8 or 2 5/8 more interest rate. Never. I mean, never. I came into the business in 87. Anybody know what the rates were in 87? Take a wild guess. No, they came down from 17. 13 and a half when I opened my company. I remember having a sales meeting, guys, where we said, God, if we could get to 9.9, we'd sell everything we have. And now we saw 2 5/8, 2 7/8. What it did is it created a fear of missing out. It created, I better get out there and make something happen or I will not be able to participate in this. So what did that do to us? Well, by the way, just so you know, this started about 12 years ago. The Federal Reserve got involved in artificially messing with the 10-year bond, which lowered interest rates. So we had liquidity, a bunch of printed money, and artificially low rates for about 12 years. And what that did was put a whole bunch of people into real estate. And technology became this new thing. You don't have to prospect anymore in real estate. Buy leads, sell houses, and you'll be great. Now, I'm an old dinosaur, I know, but I'm going to say it this way. We had a run of real estate where you could do the job the wrong way and get rewarded. I was talking to a buddy of mine who actually works for your organization now. He worked for another one. He works in your Ohio region. He's been in the business 42 years. And I said to him, his name's Bob. I said, Bob, when you had your company, when I had my company, if a real estate agent showed up and described to you a business model where they were going to buy leads or get leads and do the buy side, what did you do when you owned your company? Like, we wouldn't even look at that agent. So you wouldn't hire him. I said, heck no, we would never let that into our office. I said, why? Because it was a failing business model. If you didn't embrace both sides of the business, you failed. And I said, now look what we've dealt with for a decade. We dealt with where that became a business model where people doing it stood on stage and got awards. So I'm not beating on any buyer agents out there right now. What I'm saying is you did the right thing in the right market, but the market has what? Shifted. So when the market shifts and you don't shift dramatically your business model, you can end up doing old things that no longer work today. So I'm here to tell you that we went from a FOMO, fear of missing out market, to write this down. Now, I believe this market is about needs and quality. Needs and quality. Has anyone noticed that sellers are scrutinizing their listing agent a little more? Raise your hand. No more questions, right? How about this? Have you noticed that buyers are hesitating and or paralyzed a little bit and have a bunch of questions? Raise your hand. See, we went from fear of missing out where I've got to buy that. I don't care who's there. I'll waive inspection. I'll waive appraisal. I'll do it. I got to have fear of missing out. So now they're going, I'm going to buy, take me out, but it's got to be right now. We went from FOMO to needs and quality. If we don't shift our skills, our strategies into dealing with that, we will still make money, but we'll miss out on the greatest opportunity in real estate. Guys, I go all over the world now. I'm honored to do this. And wherever I go, I find real estate agents that I talk to in paralysis of some sort. I don't want you to be there. While they're in paralysis, go make it happen. Good old Warren Buffett has a quote, maybe you heard. Back in the 80s, he said, when others are greedy, I am fearful. When others are fearful, I am greedy. Break that down for a second. When a marketplace gets to where everybody's so confident that they're willing to be greedy, it's the end of the business cycle. When everyone can jump into real estate and succeed, you're coming into the end of the cycle. That's what Warren Buffett learned. In any of my businesses that I'm in, when everyone is doing well, we're at the end of it. Now, when everyone's afraid of it, it's time to get greedy. I want you just to answer yes or no right now. When a market shifts, do real estate agents get a little paranoid, paralyzed, or concerned? Yes or no? Would you say that the fear in agents is greater than the reduction in transactions? Yes or no? Would you say the percent of agents that are fearful reading that article, let's wait for the market to come back. Do you think that's more people that are concerned like that than there are reduction in rate or reduction in transactions? Yes or no? Yeah. Exactly. That's why he has that quote. You know, if you look at a pie and there's 100 people trying to eat out of the pie, there's not much pie for each person. But if 50% of those people get paralyzed and stop trying to eat out of the pie, the people left have a big piece of pie. Even though the pie gets smaller, you get more of it. This is, you'll hear my voice. I get excited, guys. I told Judy, who's worked with me forever, my ops VP, I said, if we get tired of doing this, let's just open an office. I said, we'll kill it. Orlando is so paralyzed, man. I talk to them. I work for the board down there sometimes. I'll go in and do an event for them. And everybody, because Orlando was such a order-taking market, and now you have to work. And there are people, either that book or the book I think Ken Blanchard wrote, Who Moved My Cheese? You guys ever read that, Who Moved My Cheese? We got a lot of agents in Orlando going, someone moved my cheese. This is not what I was doing before. Take advantage of that. So what I want to do with you today is I want to walk you through some things. And by the way, get to know your neighbor real well, because we will do some role play. You guys know me. Those of you at your watch parties, managers, make sure we get a little role play when we get to the end of this. We will go right to 11 and break, so I have to take off with Jason. But on Friday the 6th, this Friday at 9 a.m., I'll open up that Zoom, and please bring any other questions that you weren't able to ask here. Okay. Market update. What has happened in the market? Rates have gone where? Up. Liquidity has done what? That's cash that they throw in the market. Up or down? Down. Those of you who don't know, the Federal Reserve prints money, throws it into the market when they want to stimulate the market. When inflation happens, they take it out. So with inflation, so they're pulling dollars out of the market. While they're pulling dollars out of the market, they're getting out of the 10-year bond. Don't ever get confused that the Fed rate influences the interest rates. The Fed rate does not influence our interest rates, 10 and 15, or 15 and 30-year mortgages. It influences consumer lending. So it definitely tamps down the market, and tamps down inflation. But to prove this to some people, people are like, no, Dan, it's effective when they raise the rates. I go back to last November, October, November. Remember when they did the first 3/4 point raise, the Federal Reserve? It was like a massive raise. Instead of doing a 1/4 point, they did 3/4 point. Raise your hand if you remember that happened. Do you know where the interest rates went the next week? Down. And I showed the people, I go,
How did they raise their rate and our rates go down?
And it kind of baffled people. They're
Like, no, they raised rates on us. They raised rates on banks lending money for consumers. And car loans, boat loans, your locks on your house, those things got messed with. But our interest rates float with the market in the 10-year bond. Right now, the Federal Reserve owns a lot of 10-year bonds from getting our rates down. They bought a whole bunch of them. Now they're selling them back into the market. When they sell bonds back in the market, the 10-year goes up in interest rate. We also have shutdown fears, inflation fears, so consumers like us rent bonds for a safe haven. It's a guaranteed return. You can't lose money. So as more people are rushing into bonds, they're buying bonds, and as they buy bonds, what happens? The rate goes up.
Excuse me. The Federal Reserve is selling bonds. We're buying them, but they own trillions of dollars of them. So that causes the rates to go up. I don't want you to worry about the rates. If you look historically at rates, we're in great shape. The problem we have is a shock, an impact on our. If you have a buyer that's been looking and missed out on buying, he is slowly or she has slowly lost buying power, correct? It's very hard for them to go, I was going to buy this house, and now I can't. Now you want me to buy this house. That is an emotional shift that's very hard for people. So they'll keep looking, hoping that this house becomes what? Available and affordable. How many people know an agent that's had a buyer say this? Let's keep looking for this house. Maybe we'll find a seller that's in trouble. Have you know anybody that's been said? Or how about this? Let's keep looking, because the rates will be down in the beginning of the year, and maybe we'll just slip in there. We hear that stuff, right? I want you to be careful. The marketplace is going to be fickle for a long time. I don't want you to worry about that. What I want you to worry about is what you do. So to prove that, I'm going to give you a little exercise here. I want you to talk to me. And for my people at the watch parties, we got a couple people watching the chat. If you have a question or something to throw in, please do it, and they'll get it to me. So I want you to raise your hands, and I want you to tell me, from your perspective, in success in real estate today, being able to continue to do what you've always done, what are the challenges you are facing that we need to address to have success? When you look out there, what are the forces that are causing you problems? Raise your hand. Yes.
We're sitting on the cheap rates that we've already got.
So low rates are keeping them in their house. Yes, in the back. When you say afraid of the timing of selling and buying, give me a little more. Okay, so finding a home in time is definitely driving them. There you go, and that's part of why it's a problem, right? Our inventory is low. By the way, don't zoom in on that, JD, because I can't spell. What else? So we got low rates. We've got finding a home. We got people sitting on their low rate. Pricing is challenging. And is pricing challenging because of market expectation? People have those expectations wrong? What else? So we got low inventory. We got market expectations for pricing, sitting on low rates. Yes, sir. Okay, buyers, payment conscious, and that's because interest rates went where?
Sitting in this highlight something, sellers going to think they can get the higher end.
Okay, so we have seller unreasonable expectations because the market they came through.
And higher. Kind of like a higher.
And then buyers have a different expectation. And this is all being driven by the way to look at the market, right? You know, buyers are going, hey, it's slowed down, you should come down in price. And sellers are going, hey, we could just add 10% every day. I'll just keep adding 10%. We got enough here. So here's what I want to do. Every time I've been out, and by the way, it's amazing. Like I said, and I'm honored. I am booked through the end of the year now. Companies that I've worked with, because our number one challenge is getting reskilled and changing our habits. And I'll get into that today. That's what we'll get into. And I'm a tactical guy. I do some mindset stuff, some emotional intelligence stuff. I do leadership stuff. But when I talk to agents, I talk very tactical. So I become very busy all of a sudden about tactics. So I came up with doing this to people. And in the watch parties, pay attention here. What if I said to you, as your leader, you are not allowed to use markets or time as a reason to not succeed? Can't use the market, can't use time. If I did that, I'd come back here and go, what did we put up that is related to markets? So customers sitting on low rates is market driven, correct? So that can't be a reason. Finding a home in time is driven by the low inventory, so that's market. Pricing, that's market. Buyer payment based on interest rate, that's market. Interest rates are market. Sellers' understanding and expectation of value came from what they saw in the market, and the buyer's expectation came from market. Son of a gun, if I take market and time away from you as a reason for success, there is nothing on the board that's a challenge. You guys are saying, but Dan, that's life, man, that's real. Okay, I gotta tell you a quick story. What happened to me, my first business, some of you know, that's part of my story. I went and got angel investment, venture funds. Because I didn't have money coming out of law enforcement, so I had to get people to fund my idea to run a real estate company. So I only owned 10% of the company I started back in 88, 87, 88. Every quarter, guys, these 5 guys came to Orlando, sat in my conference room and made me present to them in a board meeting my numbers against budget. Most frightening thing you ever have to do is face the people that gave you money. Well, in the beginning, it did very poorly, where they threatened to fire me. I've told that story. Figured things out, started turning the company around, and we were running well. I'm hitting numbers, I'm beating numbers. Matter of fact, I'm being accused of sandbagging by my board. They go, you're sandbagging on us. You're giving us numbers, selling us on them, then you're beating them. We want you to be more honest. You can never win with the board. If I get honest and miss a number, what, you don't know what you're doing? If I sandbag and beat a number, what, you're sandbagging us? You can never win with the board. I walk in one day in mid-90s, we had a recession in Orlando. Florida had a slight recession. I missed numbers. I come in, Chairman John looks at me, the chairman of the company, goes, Dan, you missed numbers. What happened? And I said these words. I said, John, I said, I don't know if you're aware, he's from Danville, California. I said, but in Florida, we have a slight recession right now, and that's impacted us. And he pauses and looks at me and does this to me. Is your market different than the competitors? I went, no. He said, is this recession impacting Advantage Realty different than, ABC and CBC and Centrum and Husky? No. And he said, then why? And he picked one of my competitors because he's a numbers guy. He said, why is their trend going up and ours is going down? I said, I wasn't aware of that. And he goes, could it be that we have the wrong person running our company? How do you feel at that moment, guys? I looked at him and I went, well, he goes, Dan, never walk in this door at a board meeting and use market as an excuse. He said, the market is the great equalizer in business. As soon as you accept market as your excuse, your brain stops looking for a way to fix it. And I got thinking about that after that. And I went, he's right. All of my staff meetings, we were talking about where there's a recession. We should cut, we should do this. We didn't stop and go, who cares about the recession? How do we go get more business? That's where we are right now. You guys are in a market that's changing, and if your brain is allowed to think about the market as the reason, if these become the reason, you stop looking for how to work within the market. So when he said that to me, maybe I have the wrong person. I went, no, sir, you don't. He goes, the next time you walk in here, you better have a strategy for the market you're living in. Yes, sir. Well, being a young, dumb kid, about 6 months down the road, we had another board meeting and we took off. The business came back, we strategized, we did everything right, we took off. But we had a couple initiatives that we missed. So he attacks that. He goes, yeah, we missed these initiatives, what's going on? And I said, well, we ran out of time. Guess which story I got then? He goes, do you have less hours than your competition? Oh, uh-oh, here we go. No, sir. And then he said, by the way, not only don't come in here and say the market's the reason, never say time's the reason. Because if you look at time and market, it's the same for everybody. It's how do you operate with the time you have in the market you're in. Guys, if you can wrap that around your head right now, if you can have your own little strategy meetings and go, I can't go there, that's market. I can't go there, that's time. Your brain will find solutions. But if you give yourself challenges that are out of your control, your brain will go, there's nothing we can do. And some fool writes an article and says, well, we wait for the market to come back. That's why Buffett said, when others are fearful, I get greedy. I get strategic. I go out there and make it happen. It isn't easy. I'm not sitting here telling you it's easy, but I'm telling you you'll have less competition going out there and making it happen. So focus on what you can control, guys. It's all about that. If you focus on what you can control, great things will happen. Now, I want you to think for a second, and anyone that's been through our SWOT program, I deal with this, both in the live one we did and the online version of SWOT. Question I have for you is, which business model guarantees success in the market we're in? So I want you to think a second about business models. Now, most real estate agents do not really identify their business model. A business model tells you exactly what you're going to be so you can plan to do exactly what you need to do. So if I'm a buyer agent business model, I know exactly what I have to do to build that. If I'm a listing agent business model, I know exactly what I need to do then. But there's one other business model. And in the market we're in right now, I can tell you that business model guarantees you success, and I'm going to prove it to you. And that is the balanced business model. So a listing agent business model, just so you know, is defined as you earning 70% or more of your desired income from listings only. These are listing agent business models. The 30% just happens. These are the top of the top listing people. If you talk to them, they just list in and out, good markets, bad markets. They're always taking in their listings. They're always the people you go to that have listings, and they always make their numbers. They know what to do if they're a listing agent business model. They know what their activities need to be to maintain that. If you're a buyer agent business model, you want 70% of your revenue to come from buyers. Now, in the fear of missing out market, it would spend money, make relationships for referrals, and have a constant flow of leads coming in to process. In fear of missing out, those people were willing to do what was necessary to compete in the marketplace to get a home. The 30% happened from referred business, or a buyer agent would pop off a listing now and again, and that would give them extra income. The one I want to talk about is the balanced approach. The reason I picked balance, guys, for the market we're in is 80% of real estate agents through the boom have begun self-identifying as buyer side agents. And what I mean by that is when they're interviewed and asked this question, when you wake up in the morning on a business day, what are your first thoughts and activities? And what they found was 70 to 80% of agents worked on looking for something to show someone, following up on a lead, doing some lead gen function. Only 20 to 30% woke up saying the first thing I do is find a way to contact my sphere, call expired FISBO. There's not many of them, but I look every day for them. And they found a stark difference between about 20% of agents and 80. In the old days, when I had my company, 60% of agents identified as balanced or listing and only 40% buyer. Now it's 80-20. For some silly reason, because of the fear of missing out market, I think, we believe the buyer side is easier. Here's what I want you to write down. First, to answer this question. Do you need a seller to have a real estate transaction happen? Yes or no? Yes or no? This is the easy part, guys. Do you need a buyer for a real estate transaction to happen? It's not a trick question. You can answer. So can we say real estate is a one-to-one proposition? You cannot have a real estate transaction unless there's a seller and a buyer. Yes or no? Yes. So when 80% of people in the industry are working the one half of the business, can you see the imbalance and why it's difficult? So what ends up happening is we have all these people on the buy side during the boom. You know what? They were willing to do whatever was necessary to buy a house. It worked. If you had 3 or 4 bad ones, you always had a good one that was willing to do what was necessary. Now we have paralysis. So let me ask you this question about the buy side. Could a real estate agent do everything right as a buyer agent? That's what I mean. Initial appointment, needs analysis, education, ready to go, qualify. Could you do everything right and have a buyer that still waits or hesitates? Yes or no? Yes. So right now, you just told me you could be the best buyer agent, do everything right, and make no money. Watch this. If you took 4 mediocre listings, how many would sell? 3. Maybe 4. These are what I call business metrics, guys. And write this down. There's 3 metrics I want you to follow going into this year. One is gross commission percentage. Through the boom, we let that slip. Almost every company that I do analysis on, what they were getting in gross commission before the boom and after shrinks. The reason it shrinks is when business comes easy, you'll cut more deals because you don't worry about them. So that compresses gross commission. Gotta watch that. Second thing you gotta watch. Percentage of listings that sell versus expire or withdraw. I'm gonna take a wild guess, Jason, and say we're probably in the high 80s because not everything sells. Maybe everything you touch sells. Not everything sells. So I always watch the sales rate. And then the third thing I want to watch, for myself is what is my buy side, list side, close transaction ratio. If I find myself very high on the buy side, the market we're going into, I'm in danger. I just said why. I could do everything right and not sell. You okay? I'm like, okay. But if I know this, if I know that I'll sell 80% of the listings I take, I know I can maintain a margin on my commission, and I have my split at least 50-50 or higher, I guarantee income. Let me show you how. So, gross commission and then your sales rate, percentage of listings that sell versus expire or withdraw. So here's the example. I'm just going to take you through it. For this to work, and I'm going to back up over here so I can watch. You can take them full screen if you want. Okay, 20 units. I want to have 20 closed units. Now I'm just using 20 because it's a nice round number. If you need 100 units, do the math. There's two sides of the business, listing side, buy side. To have a balanced approach, I need 10 sides sold on the listing, and I need 10 sides sold on the buy side. If I begin on the buy side, let me go back to that. You just said you can have someone do everything right and not sell. If I begin my efforts on the buy side, I could lose some of my year with people that didn't act, true or false. If I begin it on the list side, that's where there's metrics. That's where I know things will happen. Now, here's the thing about busting the myth on low inventory. Everybody keeps talking about low inventory. I've been on call after call with economic people, with NAR economists, with the different organizations that I speak for. And every time I get on there and someone says, our headwind is still low inventory, I go, with all due respect, stop saying that. People are like, but that's true. I go, no, it's not. First of all, if you look at the national average, we've doubled our months. We went from 2 to 3.6 months of inventory over the last 6 months. Okay? Okay, so I'll look at people and go, guys, it's gone up. It's doubled. The inventory is doubled. I was like, no, it hasn't. I go, have you looked? So first, our minds get caught up in these people saying this. Guys, the first time I was on a call with a NPR, one of the economists, was at the beginning of the boom after pandemic. And the young lady who I respect a lot, she's number 2 at NAR, said low inventory. I argued with her. I said, we're on track for 6.5 million transactions. And she said, yes. I said, we're running at 2.5 months inventory, which is a lower inventory rate than we usually have, but we have 2.5 months. She goes, yeah. I said, so that's about 7.5 homes we'll do this year in listings for the ones to sell. She goes, agreed. I go, how many years have you in your life ever seen us list 7.5 million houses? And she went, I don't know if we've ever listed that many. I said, if we just listed more inventory than we've ever listed before, why are you telling me that inventory is a problem? And she goes, that's a different perspective, Dan. Guys, that was 2020. It's 2023. I was on another call beginning of this year. Guess what they were talking about? Low inventory. Could it just be how our markets will be now? We're never going to have in the near future the market where a buyer agent can sit down at the computer, run their buyer, and have the 3 homes to show. That's just not our world anymore. It's not that we have low inventory. It's just the market went from us having a bunch of inventory to not having as much for 3 years now. That's normal. That's not something bad. But we keep selling millions and millions of houses, and if you believe that inventory is a problem, you stop looking for inventory. You wake up and go, every article says there's no inventory. It's kind of like markets and time. Your brain goes, no inventory, why try? Well, there's 20% of the world out there taking the inventory, making a killing, guys. And there's 80% of the world trying to work half of this transaction. And that's why it's so hard. So back to this. If I start on the buy side, I could lose. If I go on the list side, I win. So what do I have to do? Now I'm using 75% sales rate. 75% sales rate. You're at 80 something, probably 88, 89. So this is very conservative. So if I need 10 listings to sell and I sell 75% of my inventory, just guess how many listings I need to take to make sure 10 sell. 13. Just guess. 13. Please, yes, out loud. 13, very good. So 13 listings guarantees me 10 sales. Is everybody with me? Say yes, Dan. So if I go out there and take 13 listings, there's no way on God's green earth that I don't get at least 10 sales. Could I end up with 12? Yes or no? Maybe 11. So I know that is a metric. I know if I go do that work, I will get paid, period, end of sentence. The next metric that I want you to know is what percent of your sellers stay and buy in the market. Now, NAR says that the average is 60%. 6 in 10 sellers sell their house and buy from their listing agent. So let's say that that happens here. So I just sold 10 sellers, so 6 of them buy from me. Can you name a buyer better than your seller in the marketplace? Let's talk about the attributes. You guys can type in or manager have them answer this. Give me some attributes of why a seller is a good buyer. Raise your hand, give me some attributes. Why? Okay, they have a need, and I like to say a deadline. Because if they're owners, they're going to be owners. Doesn't matter. They've got money. What else? What else do they have? Think about it. Motivation. There you go. Loyalty. And he just said realistic expectations. Watch this. The seller that you just did a deal with understands the market because they just negotiated on the seller side. They just got to watch you bring them multiple offers and they got to pick through who was the best. They got to look at the buyer and go, that buyer is not as strong as that buyer. Do you think that education will help them when they have to go buy? Yes or no? They have market knowledge. Watch this. People that click on a lead gen, could they be someone who doesn't have a deadline? Yes or no? But just a one. Could they be someone waiting for the money to actually get there? Yes or no? Could they have not as much motivation? Could they not know you? Could they not understand the market? This is why people in a market that's shifted from fear of missing out to need quality end up with buyers that paralyzed. So the best buyers in the market are sellers that just sold, and listing agents have the dominant control over them. This is why the balanced business model never fails in a market transition. So I can take my 6 buyers, bring them over to the 10, take 6 from 10, and it leaves how many buyers I have to work with. Say it loud, proud. 4. So what I just did was took 80% of my income and guaranteed it. Please answer me this question. If you banked 80% of your desired income, and I called you and said this to you, hi, real estate agent, I'd like to buy a house. Now, I know rates are up. I was reading that they might come down next year. So I thought if we got started right now, if I said that to you and you had 80% of your income banked, what would you tell me? You'd go, I have a really good friend at a competing office that I'd like to refer you to. People always look at me, why would you do that, Dan? Because if they're not trained like me, I'll give them a bad buyer and they'll try to work with them. And while they're working with them, I've got them out of the market and I can go get more listings. So I happily refer all of my listings, or excuse me, all of my bad customers to Mary. When I was growing up in this business, guys, every time I thought I had a deal, Mary's sign showed up in the yard. I won't even say the company name, but man, I thought I had something, boom, Mary. Thought I had something, boom, Mary. After the 3rd time Mary's sign showed up in the yard, I hated Mary. I actually knocked on the door one day and asked the seller, I see that you chose to go with Mary. I have to ask why. And I'll never forget what the woman said to me. She goes, Dan, you're a nice guy. What follows that? But she goes, but Mary came in with this presentation and marketing plan that my husband and I just believe we need to go. Guys, no one ever taught me how to present. I went in, was nice to people, answered their questions, showed them a price, waited for them to say, yes, do it. Mary came in, took control, played the doctor, made the presentation, solved their needs, and got the deal from them. So for the rest of my life in real estate, if I had a bad client, I'd go, you know, I got a good agent you could work with. Her name's Mary. And I would refer her. Anyway, that's just something I go to counseling on.
We'll move forward. So here's my next question for you. I got 80% of my money banked, and I need how many more buyers? Right there, thank you, 4. And if I need 4 more buyers, how many listings did I just have in the marketplace? That's over here. 13? So let me ask you this. As a professional real estate agent, could you cherry pick 4 great buyers out of the people that call on 13 listings, yes or no? Would you have better confidence to say no to the bad and yes to the good if you had 80% banked? Now let's go on the other side. Let's say we work on the buy side. We could be 3-4 months in and not on target for our goals. It creates fear, creates paralysis in us, and we get scared. When others are afraid, I am greedy. I don't want you to be afraid. Be greedy. Go get your listings. But Dan, there's low inventory. No, inventory is doubled in the last 6 months. All you have to do is be the one out there talking. I was in northern Pennsylvania, northeast Pennsylvania, real ritzy part. And I was talking to those agents, and I should have had you do this, Jason, but you guys got so many markets. I had them run for me expired listings. I went online and ran FSBOs, checked FSBO sites, Zillow, waded through who was listed and faking and who was real. And I'm standing in front of them, this was just a couple months ago, I'm standing in front of them, I said, guys, inventory is coming up, inventory is coming up. They go, not here, Dan. And I said, how about expireds? I was waiting. Immediately someone goes, Dan, one of their experiences, Dan, I don't have expireds, so everything's selling. Now I had asked the owner to run expireds. So I pulled it out my thing, I picked it up, I said, that's funny, I have 43 of them right here. Across where all 8 offices are. And they were like, how'd you find those? I ran the MLS. And they're like, we don't have them. And I, when's the last time you looked for them? I don't look for them because we don't have them. Amazing. If you stop looking for them, you don't find them. And then I said, how about FSBOs? And you'd think that they would have learned after that. They go, oh, we don't have FSBOs. 27, I just found. Guys, there's inventory. We just stopped looking for it because we were in a fear of missing out market that came to us. Habits get in our way. And that's what I want to talk about next. When we do this balanced approach, you know exactly what you should do every day. You know your business, you know your strategies, you know your actions. The reason we don't do them, what gets in the way, is our habits. Habits are stronger than knowledge. I've been telling you guys that for 1.5 years now. How many people have had a bad habit? Raise your hand. And for my folks at home, raise your hand. Come on, get it up. Bad habit. Boom. How many people have tried to fix said bad habit? Raise your hand. Boom. Put it down. How many of you only realize you still do the bad habit when you catch yourself still doing the bad habit? Raise your hand. Habits are strong. You just spent a decade of people coming to you in an order-taking manner that had fear of missing out, and now all of a sudden it's not that way. And our habits are to operate the same way, but our knowledge is, no, it's changed. How bad does a habit change knowledge? Well, if you haven't heard me say this, January, we moved from our old office. Had this big warehouse, 5,000 square feet. We had a broadcast studio. I had my home building company there and had my training company. Sold the home building company. And in the last 12 years, this little phone can do now what I spent 50 grand on in my studio. So my studio stopped getting customers. So I'm like, why have this big space? I'm going to get a smaller space. So we rented a small space on the other side of town, January 1. Spent the last 2 weeks of the year moving all of our stuff. First week of January, I wake up, and I'm proud to announce to you that 3 out of 5 days I drove to the wrong office. I am not dumb. I actually drove there thinking about the new office. Okay, when I get in there, I need to get this done, and all of a sudden I'm pulling into Sunshine Lane. I'm like, and now not only is it a bad thing that I didn't realize it, Sunshine Lane is on the opposite side of town in Orlando. So now I got to fight traffic to go where I'm supposed to go, which, by the way, where I'm supposed to go is 3.7 miles from my house. I drove 11 miles to an old office to have to drive back 3 times. I would love to say that that cured me, but through the year, I still drive there. It was the other day I was coming back from lunch with a friend, and I'm going down 434, stay at 434, Wakata Springs Road's right here. I keep going down 434, I cross 436, and I get to Sunshine Lane. I am buzzing down 434, right past my turn. I get to 436. Now I pretended like I didn't do it as bad as normal, because I realized at 436 instead of Sunshine Lane that I was 5 miles out of my way. If you don't realize that your habits will adjust your knowledge when you're back at home working, then you're fooling yourself. You got to be hyper vigilant on your habits right now. You got to wake up and actually use a time management block system, actually use a list of things to do and hold yourself accountable to it to make sure you're doing what has to be done. And this job is easy. If we don't do that, this job is very hard. So with that, any questions on what I just shared with you? Any doubts? Come on, you guys are usually mean to me and have something to say. How many people believe what I just told you was truth? I'm just curious there. It was truth. Okay, Daniel. Yes. See, for those of you guys couldn't hear, she said the media. The media bombards us, right? I read trade news every day that told me to, while I'm waiting for the market to come back. Do you realize how subconsciously that could be something an agent's doing right now? Guess what they were telling you to do while you're waiting for the market to come back? Do research on AI. I'm going, great. So now a bunch of agents are going to say, hey, but XYZ at XYZ News said I should be working on AI while I'm waiting for the market to come back. I'd like to go to that guy and ask, is he going to pay our mortgages while we're working on AI? So while the rest of the United States is working on AI, why don't I go get 10, 15% more market share? So when they wake up, they can bring me buyers. You know, that's what drives me crazy. So I'm upset with media, but if I have the right mindset, I don't want them to shut up. Think about it. I mean, be strategic here. If the media wants to go tell all of my competition that you need to be doing the wrong thing right now and be worried, I'm going to cheer them on. And I'm going to go do the right thing. I always said this in a transitional market to my agents. Guys, how many of you are hearing from your peers, other agents, that are afraid right now, and they're coming to you going, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? All my agents raise their hand. I go, what are you telling them? And they're like, what do you mean? I go, here's what I want you to tell every agent that's scared and comes to you and says, what are you doing? I want you to say, you know what, I updated my resume. I think I'm gonna start looking for a job. And they're like, why? I go, so they go update their resume and go look for a job. The fewer of them I have, the easier my life is. Yes.
There's a nugget of gem, I guess, in the model that wasn't there a couple years ago.
Go ahead.
It's when everything you get this selling it, you don't get these calls.
There you go.
Right now, buyers. Not only do you get those 4 buyers, you can get another 10 buyers out of those listings. If you cherry pick it,
Right.
because your sign is still in the ground story, and you need to convert it to the conversion buyer.
Bingo. Or, guys, what he just said, if you didn't hear it at home, was this model, as I've discussed years ago, the difference right now is the speed of sale on the list has slowed down a little bit. So you actually have enough time to gather some of these buyers looking to cherry pick from. So you can end up with a lot more than 4 that are good. Not only that, if you only want to stick to your 50-50 and you don't want to get too much on the buy side, you can start making passive income from referring those out. Pick your 4 best, that rounds out yours. Take the extra listings that come. If you had 13 listings, and since there's a little time, in every listing you did just list, just sold, and an open house invite. If you did that, you would start getting more business from the neighborhood. So if I take my 13 listings and I'm out there doing my post-listing marketing, I probably pick up 2 or 3 more in the year. And I get to 15, 16. Now I sell, instead of 10, I sell 13. Instead of 6 buyers, I have 7. I just did 20 on that side. I come over here, it's all gravy if I do anything there. But again, if I start on the buy side, I'm in trouble. Anybody else? Questions? Challenges?
Dan, you're crazy. Relevancy of an agent. I am not sure your definition of relevancy.
Well, that's another count.
Okay, lawsuit. Let me give you my comment on the lawsuit. It is out of our control. It's market. Stop worrying about it. When it's all sorted out, they'll tell us the rules of the game and we'll play by them. Say, yes, Dan. Say, yes, Dan. I've hired so much to go talk to people right now about the lawsuit. They go, what should we do? I said, I don't know what it's going to make us do. I can tell you, build a TP, and you build a TP and you go, Dan, I built a TP and that's not what I needed. I know, because I don't know. I do know this. When it's over, they'll tell us the rules of the game. And I'll tell you this, if you're a balanced agent, it won't bother you a bit. Does that make sense to everybody? Now, to the relevance of agents, my concern, Danny, is my ratio of people that are buy side. How many of those will not become balanced? If you're sitting there right now going, Dan, I don't want to do that, then you're going to be challenged in the market we're in. I'm not going to say you can't make money. You're going to be challenged. You follow the balance, you will make all the money you want. And you won't have much competition on the other side. And that's what the beauty of real estate. No one can tell me no. No one can wake up and say, Dan, you cannot go get balanced. You have to. I go, no, watch me. But I can let the media or someone else get in my head and make me believe I can't. I gotta be careful there. Any other questions? Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Self-analysis, self-evaluation. Write these 3 things down. Habits are stronger than knowledge. So the first thing I want you to check is your behaviors. Go back and look at your to-do list. Go back and look at your block time management. When you wake up on a work day, what is your behavior? Is it proactive or is it reactive? Proactive means you were doing something. You were calling, knocking, sending, getting into the public, wearing your brand, talking to people. Understand that right now, buyers and sellers are confused. Your greatest asset is your knowledge. Wear your name badge, wear your career apparel, get into the marketplace, they'll ask you questions. This never fails. Watch this. Of my agents in the room that wear career apparel in the marketplace, do people come up and ask you questions and go, oh, you're in real estate, and they ask you, how's the market? Raise your hand if that's ever happened to you. Voila. Easiest prospecting in the world. Easiest in the world. Am I proactive or am I reactive? Second thing I want you to evaluate is your marketing. Is the marketing you're currently doing passive or active? Passive would be strictly social posts, things that people have to come to you. Or are you using the brand in an active marketing way? Again, where you're present, available, trusted advisor, attending things, spreading the word. If all your marketing has gone passive, it was a fabulous business plan for a fear of missing out market. Heavy passive exposure got us a lot of great business, but not heavy passive. Heavy passive exposure could end up bringing us a bunch of people that tell us they want to do something, that qualify to do something, and then do nothing. I got to make sure I have active with it. And then the third one is your plan as running Agent Inc. I always say we are Agent Inc., Agent Incorporated. You are the CEO of Agent Incorporated. How much of your time is spent leading versus managing? And if you have a little place to take notes, let me explain the two. Management is doing the right things, answering questions, dealing with challenges, deal doctoring, all that, fixing problems. Leadership is eyes on the horizon, changing course to make sure you're going to be relevant in the market we're in. In the fear of missing out market, managing was the name of the game. Can we say that's true? We had to answer questions. We had to move as fast as we could. Habits are stronger than knowledge. If you don't get some leadership in your life right now, you'll keep doing what you always did and think you're doing it differently. Leadership is eyes on the horizon, making adjustments, saying my business model, you know what, I'm 70-30, 75-30 list, I got to adjust that. How do I get to 50-50?
How do I leverage my buyers I sold for the last 5 years to go get some more listings to make sure I get balance? That's leadership. Management is dealing with the next call on a buyer. Wayne Gretzky gave me the best quote when I talk to leaders about leadership and management. If you guys ever listen to Wayne Gretzky get interviewed, he's always asked what made him such a great hockey player. And his quote goes, and it's known worldwide: most people in hockey skate to where the puck is. I always skated to where the puck was going to be. Managing is skating to where it is. Leadership is knowing where it's going to be. I want you to skate where the puck's going to be right now, not where it is. And good things will happen. So if you do a little self-analysis on those 3 things, you'll start to see where you need to work on your personal business to get into the mode of becoming balanced. Ask yourself that question in the end. Where are my habits when it comes to this? So now, this is the participatory part of our session. I don't know if I talk on the wrong side of this. Here's what I want to talk about. Winning differences, leveraging your winning differences. First thing I want to start with is you guys have a thing called Focus on 5. Can you raise your hand and give me one of the 5 of your Focus on 5? Come on. People. Can someone give me another one? You're making Jason have heart failure back there. What's that? Okay, you're not allowed to answer all of them. So we got people, we got tech. What else is that Focus on 5? Education, brand, and say it. Marketing. Ding, ding, ding. Let's write those down, guys. These are winning differences. So people always ask me, I forgot, what's the big deal? The big deal is you're in a current market that's all about need and quality. I could take Focus on 5 on a listing appointment and beat anybody else. I could go on a listing appointment, ask a bunch of questions of my seller, find out their fears, find out their challenges, and then come back and simply say, Coldwell Banker is an amazing global brand. Where I'd like to begin is what Schmidt brings to you. See, our leadership had the vision to put together Focus on 5. And what I'd like to do is go through those 5 and show how those 5 focuses start to take care of, eliminate, or make better some of the challenges you're going to face in today's market. For instance, one of them is, you said you're a little worried because it's slowed down. People aren't selling as fast. Well, one of our Focus on 5 is marketing. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you understand why marketing is so important in today's market? Well, yeah, marketing is always important, but do you understand why having it as a Focus on 5 matters to you? Actually, no, Dan. See, it's all about exposure. We just came out of a market with fear of missing out, and as a listing agent, we didn't have to worry about exposure because people were chasing us. Now they're not chasing us. Out of 10 buyers, maybe 1 can actually buy. Our Focus on 5 marketing is creating a larger market of people to know your house is available, so we can cherry pick through and find that 1 in 10. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. If you talk to anyone else that is focused on making sure exposure increases so we can weed through the bad and find you the good, no one's talking like that, Dan. There's one thing on a listing appointment. Do you think a seller would like that conversation? Yes or no? Yes or no? Can you get that conversation? See, habit is go in and take the listing, my listing agents. Habit was my reputation was getting me listings back because sellers were just listing because they knew it would sell. Now they have questions. I'm not going to ask you guys, but I've had some of my listing agents tell me, Dan, I've lost one. I went in thinking it was mine. I knew them. They're my sphere. And they said, let's think a little bit. And they went with someone else, and it broke my heart. I go, tell me about your listing appointment. They go, what do you mean? I go, tell me what you did. I said, I came in, I showed them the CMA. And I said, so you didn't sit them down. You didn't play doctor. You didn't do an analysis of their needs. You didn't solve their problems with your winning differences, then do pricing and ask them for their business. You just went in and assumed it was yours. And they're like, oh God, I did. But Dan, I haven't had to do that other stuff in, God, 7 years. Habits are stronger than knowledge. So you just went in there and lost one because your habit. Focus on 5 is incredibly important to you to understand and leverage in the marketplace to beat your competition. So let's say them one more time. What is one of the focus on 5? Everybody say people. People, say it out loud. People, maybe write it down. Another one. Technology, everybody write it down. The third was brand. So we got people, we got brand, we got technology. Education, everybody write that down. And marketing. So what I want to do right now is start with one at a time, because I think we need to do this. My brain just went, people, God, I really can't spell. This is terrible. I did reach a certain age where your brain stops working. So people, I want you to think right now, and I don't want the same people, and you guys back at your watch parties, managers, do this individually with your group. I want to put up here 3 things that are benefits to people being a focus on 5. Okay, raise your hand if you can give me a benefit to the marketplace, to a seller, because people is one of our focus on 5. Exposure to the number of agents in our office, because we have people. Give me another one. Somebody give me another. And guys, there's no wrong answer here. You can leverage it however you want. But people was a focus on 5. If we're focused on people in this organization, does it send a benefit to the marketplace? So we have higher statistics, better quality agent, because we're focused on people. Give me one more. Larger network. It's kind of what's up here, but that's okay. Larger network. So our focus on people is giving us all kinds of benefit that we can go forward to the marketplace with. So I'm just going to take this off. Set it nicely over there. Give me another one. People. Give me another one. No, not people. What's another focus on 5? Brand. I want 3 benefits that the CD brand brings to us to the marketplace. Raise your hand, don't just say it. Again, managers, do this with everybody. Yes, ma'am. Association with luxury. Okay, before we go further, people will say sometimes to me, Dan, our luxury brand is nice, but I don't work in the luxury market. It doesn't do anything for me. How many people have felt that way before? So only a few of you are willing to raise your hand. Watch this. This is how I always dealt with the luxury brand, brand. We sell luxury houses. We were not even near the price point for our luxury brand. And my agents would go, Dan, why is this even in our presentation? We don't talk to these people. I go, guys, you're not thinking of leveraging. Here's what I did. I took an agent out on a listing appointment. I did this one time. I said, another thing that you get with our brand, I'm not going to say our brand at the time, is our luxury division. Now, our luxury division encompasses homes priced from here to here. And I would wait, and the seller goes, Dan, that's kind of out of our price point. I said, I understand, but remember when I started this whole presentation, I told you our number 1 job was to get you maximum exposure. My job is to maximize exposure. The more people that know about your house, the faster your sale and the higher the price, correct? Correct? So I said to him, Mrs. Seller, a lot of people discount a luxury division when they're not in the luxury price point. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked at something you cannot afford? Yes or no? 100% of the time people go, yes. I go, that's what I love about our luxury division. We have a whole bunch of people that can afford your house looking at those luxury homes. And that luxury division brought your buyer into our system so I can find them and sell them your house. Does that make sense? So don't worry about discounting us having a luxury division, because most of the people that look at it can't afford them anyway. And we love that here at ABC Realty. Would you like that type of benefit while you're on the market? Did luxury just become a benefit to someone who's not luxury? But you know what? Most agents don't do that. They don't do a value proposition. That's a value proposition. I asked questions, I gave back benefit. So luxury is a benefit regardless of price point. Give me another one for brand. Rep, national. So look at that. What does national and international awareness do for us from a benefit? Let's take it deeper. Had a $2 million buyer just walk in because they saw Coldwell Banker in Cincinnati. Now, people used to ask me, Dan, how do you leverage this on a listing appointment? So I would say, well, when it comes to my brand, I would ask people this question. Guys, to understand the power of our brand in the marketplace. And some people would go, well, yeah, I mean, you know, this is good, this is good. So, well, it kind of gets better than that. So I always used rental cars as an example. I go, if you ever go on a vacation and you rent a car, who do you rent from? Guess what the #1 brand they always told me? Avis. Avis was #2 in the market. I always heard Avis. When we go with Avis, I said, so if you come to a new market and you need to rent a car, and there's Bob's Rent-A-Car in Avis, where do you rent the car? What do they say? Avis. I go, what if Avis is a few bucks more a day for that car? Would you forego Avis to go to Bob's? 100% of the time they go, no, I'm going to go to Avis. I go, why? And they go, I trust them. I know I'll get a good car. I go, that's why our brand matters. When people come to town, they know it, they trust it, and what you want is exposure. So our brand is going to bring you the exposure when people walk into Michigan over anyone else out there. So there's brand, reputation. Give me one more about the brand. Can I ask a question that you guys would be honest with me? Say yes. The things I'm speaking of were standard protocol in the 80s and the 90s. I could go to any agent and they would have told me everything I just said right there. That was just, if you didn't talk that way, you failed in the 80s and the 90s. Can you see now how powerful a hot market was on our habits and our abilities? I mean, some of the stuff people, I just did this with some brokers over in Wisconsin, and they're like, Dan, but how do we find all this stuff? God, I mean, we're not even thinking about this. I go, I know. One said, can I take you on an appointment with me? I go, I'd love to. But this is what we need to work on. This is why your leader over there, God, it kills me to have to do this. Your leader over there, with what he's trying to do through the fourth quarter, by juicing you guys up on education, understanding your focus on 5 and other winning differences, so you can go out there and preach it, man. You can go out there and get the market to understand that this isn't just your average real estate company. This is a company that's on the cutting edge of what's happening in the marketplace. Man, when you feel that way, I told you my voice was going to get a little excited here. When you feel that way, no one can beat you. Yes. Well, I understand, but yes, I know you can do that. Fullest exposure, leadership support. And it's not just CD, it's Schmidt. I agree with that 100%. I mean, think about this right now. We just did people and brand. If I did a A/B comparison, good Ben Franklin or A/B comparison to any of your competition, and what we just talked about with 2 of the 5 Focus 5s, where would we be? Would we be underwater against them, or would we be like unfairly kicking their butt if we just lined up those 2 things? Be unfair. It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. My competition is going to lose every time. The only time I'm going to lose in this scenario, when I understand these things, is when it's an uneven playing field. I go to your house and your buddy is going to list the house and you're just testing your buddy. I'll probably lose that one. But man, I'll make you think twice about that buddy. You'll go back to him and say, hey dude, talk to me about your brand. What? I mean, I had Dan come over and God, man, That CD branded just looks like, oh, you know, they talk about that stuff all the time. It's no big deal. I'm gonna throw it in the MLS, everything will be fine. That's what everyone else is doing. But the seller today is looking for quality, and they're a little bit stingy about this. I go to that appointment, they might still list with them, but when their neighbor says, who should I do business with? They'll go, Dan at Coldwell Banker. But aren't you listed with that guy? Oh, he's my friend. I had to list with him. I mean, literally, that will happen. But I got to bring to the market these things each and every time. Okay, give me one more. We had people, we had brand, we're going to do one more, and then we're going to role play. Give me one more. Tech. Give me 3 things about tech that you can leverage in the marketplace. Don't think about old stuff that would happen in the boom. I want you to think about technology and how we leverage it today. Give me 3 things. Raise your hand. Yes. Quality of photos for the list. Presentation. Tech for our presentation. Now I'm going to stop there a second and warn you on something. Everybody listen to me carefully. As we've gone to technological manners to present, what we've done is changed our brain to where the tech flows the presentation instead of you. Does that make sense to everybody? That becomes what's called a feature dump. You cannot feature dump and win. Your tech has to be a support to your presentation technique. So if I go on that appointment and I ask some questions, and I got 7 or 10 or 12 pages here, and you tell me 3 things that matter, and there's only 3 pages that matter, I need to break it down and go to those 3 pages. Because if I just go through and go, okay, here we go. By the time I get to the 3 pages that matter, where is my customer? Asleep. And then they go, let me think about it. But if I know my presentation so well that when I do that diagnostic to find out what they're most worried about, and I go into my presentation and only use the solutions that matter, I win. Now, people always say that, Dan, we have so much good stuff. They need to know it. Tell them after they sign the listing. If I provide you these 3 things, if I solved your problems, yes. May I have your business? Yes. By the way, there's even more. Let me share it with you. Now they fall asleep as I share everything else. I got their signature. I don't care. If I don't solve problems first, they'll fall asleep at the good part. And when I ask for the signature, what would they say? I need to think about it. Write this down. I'm giving you some really good ones for the market's change. You cannot require your customer. You cannot require your customer to sort through your value proposition, to solve their problem. You cannot require your customer to sort through what you've just given them to find the solution they need. And that's how things were before. Here is Schmidt and Coldwell. And the customer had to go, wow, that's a lot. Well, in a fear of missing out market, didn't matter. Now they're sitting there going, but you didn't really address my problem. No, it was addressed in there, but I'm forcing you to find it. You guys have heard me use this quote before. Treatment before diagnosis is malpractice. If I walk in your house as a seller, I cannot give you penicillin or a flu shot until I know you need it. So I have to go through a diagnostic. When I go through that diagnostic, then I know exactly what to pull out of my presentation. So yes, I love that technology has given us some amazing ways to present, but you better learn that tech in such a way that you can jump through to the page that matters. Or what you do is tell them a bunch of things that don't matter, getting to what does. And that's where you lose them. Give me one more tech. Ooh, who said that? I like that. The means to connect to a larger audience.
There's an I in there somewhere. I'll just put a dot up there. Everything looks good. So watch what we just did. When I look at brand gave me luxury, which gives me more exposure, a national and international reputation that brings me recognition for exposure, and then the tools and exposure that it actually has along with its leadership. I come over here to people, more agents, higher statistic quality, larger network to get exposure, and I'm looking at here, I'm giving you a better quality view of the property. I'm using my technology to properly present those winning differences, and it's giving me the opportunity to connect to more people to get more exposure. If I'm on a listing appointment today, folks, after I go, you guys know how I work if you've been around me or a SWAT agent. I walk in the door, I greet you, I take you to the kitchen table. I'm the doctor, you're the patient. When I sit you at the kitchen table, I build rapport, very short rapport building. Get you to lean in a little bit, then I thank you. I go, hey guys, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. May I explain to you how I work? They say yes, and I told you should have a visual that shows how I work. First, I'm going to ask some questions, then I'll present the Cole Banker Schmidt marketing plan, how we get houses sold and closed in today's market. Third, we're going to preview the home. I'll need you to present it to me so I understand it like you. We'll come back from preview, we'll go over placing and maximizing value, then we will make a mutual decision. You can do that, you have control. I go right to my questions. Why are you selling? Where are you moving? When do you need to get there? What will you do if it doesn't sell in that time frame? Do you have an option or a plan B? Have you begun looking at homes in the area that you want to buy? What method are you using? Because they always tell us tech, that supports our tech. What methods are you using to look at houses? What's the most important thing you're looking for in the agent you hire? What will it take for me to meet that expectation? Again, if you guys don't have those, I'm sure Jason can dig those out of a past thing and bring back out to you. As soon as I'm done with those questions, I start my presentation. The first thing my presentation would have would be would be a beautiful graphic that talks about exposure is the number one element for success in today's market. That would be my first slide. Because since it's not a fear of missing out market anymore where people are chasing us, you want to hire the listing agent that knows how to expand the awareness of your property to the maximum number of people. All of a sudden, the brand matters, the people matter, everything matters. Everything you talk about after that should be addressing one of two things, either demonstrating exposure or answering a challenge you learned. Then the job is easy. Because most companies cannot beat your exposure. Always be first. Think about this. If I go on a listing appointment before anybody else, I take control, sit them down, build some rapport, ask them a lot of questions, deliver a value proposition presentation that answers all their challenges. I get to end before we preview the home by going, what's your name, ma'am? Sorry, Angela? So I go, Angela, now that you've seen the marketing plan, do you have any questions for me? They usually say no. And then I go, well, we haven't looked at the house yet. So outside of price, would you be comfortable listing with me and Stevie Schmidt? And they always go, yes. Seldom do I get a no there because I've answered their problems. And then they go, oh, but Dan, I have one more appointment to do. I go, no worries. Let's look at the house. We go look at the house. I come back and do price. And I close and they go, well, we have one more appointment. I go, when is it? They go, it's Thursday. I go, would you do me the honor of waiting until I follow up with you on Thursday just to see if there's any questions I can answer? Sure. I call back on Thursday and I go, did you list with those people? No. Why? Well, Dan, it was just weird. I hear this all the time. I go, what was weird? Well, they didn't do it anything like you did. I go, what did they do? Well, they kind of came in and they just wanted to tour the house. And then when they sat down, they just gave me a CMA. And I go, so they came in, walked the house and did a CMA. Yeah, I go, how are they getting you maximum exposure? They didn't even get into that. I go, is that why you didn't list with them? They go, yeah. I go, should I come over and get this wrapped up? Sure. Now, what if I wasn't first? Could they have listed with the first agent? And never knew I existed. But when I go in there, I elevate the bar. I make the next agent coming in better be darn good. Because if they're not, it will look weird to the seller. But if I'm last, I might never get there. If I'm first, I set the bar, baby. I wish I could take you on my appointments, guys. To hear someone that pushed me off, an analytical that had to talk to that other person, when I come back and take the listing, they spend most of the evening while I'm filling it out telling me how bad the other agent was. And they're a good agent that was in the door. I don't beat them up, I just listen. I mean, they didn't ask questions like you did. They didn't have anything, and they had no presentation. They didn't have this, they didn't have that. I'm like, I'm sorry that happened to you. Sign here. But before I showed up, everyone that walked in the door did it that way, so it looked what? Normal. You're not normal, guys. You're better. Okay, for my managers out there and for you guys, find a partner right now. If you have to get up and find someone. If you're not with a partner, by God, you will get me. Find a partner. If you can't find one, raise your hand and someone will find you. Oh, we got someone needs a partner. Anybody without a partner? Oh, there you go. You got one? Okay, good. Okay, this is what I want you to do. Guys, this is simple. So stumble along if you have to. What I want you to do is ask your partner, as if they were a seller, some questions about the sale of their house. One of mine is, what's the most important thing you're looking for in the company and agent you hire? If you use that question, you give your partner an opportunity to tell you some challenges. And then what I want you to do is, after you hear their challenge, I want you to say, let me share with you how we deal with that at Coldwell Banker. And I want you to go to one of the winning differences and try to present it. So here's how it works. While I'm listening to him, I go, ooh, he's there. I could use people. And then when he's done, I go, let me share with you how we deal with that at Coldwell Banker. And then I start explaining my value proposition. At the end of explaining it, I want you to ask a trial or final close. Trial close would go something like this. Is that something you'd like to have while you're on the market? Or is this an area that we should be focusing on for you? I mean, that's a trial close. I'm just trying to get their agreement. Or you can go to a final close. If I can provide that, may I have your listing? I want you to go one of those two places, either trial closing. Is this something you've been looking for? Is this something you would like while you're on the market? Or final close. If I can provide this to you, would you allow me to take your listing? As soon as you're done doing that, I want the person you role played with to give an honest critique. Did it hit your needs? Did it feel good? What could they do to be better? Don't beat them up. Give them good feedback on how they could be better next time. By the way, expect to fail. Failure is part of learning. Tell you my baby story before we get started with the role play. How many times does a child get up before they walk? A couple thousand? Here, say this with me. As many as it takes. But as adults, we don't have tenacity anymore, curiosity. We just don't want to mess up. So I say role play, and we lost a few people. It's amazing. I call that role play flu. We learn through role play because we find out what we don't know and we work on getting it better. So I always like to say to adults, what if a child had the same tenacity that we do as an adult? Here's what would happen. That little baby would be crawling around trying to walk the first time. Moms, where are my moms? Raise the kid. Moms, raise your hand high. Okay, when that baby stands up the first time, they don't stand very long. Where do they fall? On their what? Butt. Isn't it great? God made their butt center of gravity. Boom, they stand up, boom. The problem is when they become a toddler, their forehead becomes center of gravity, right? They walk like this and run into things. So they get up that first time, his legs are shaking, they fall on their butt. What do we do when they stand up the first time as adults around them? That's just me. So they stand up,
legs shake, fall down, we're like, let's say they're like us. They're adult mindset. They fall down, you clap, they're like, what are you clapping at? And then you're like, get up, do it again. You're like, are you crazy? That was embarrassing. I'm not getting up again. I embarrassed myself. You're like, come on. And they just won't get back up. 15 years later, you're having a cocktail party. Your teenager crawls by. Your friends say, where is he crawling? And you go, well, walking just wasn't his thing. That's adult mindset, guys. I went to Dan's thing, but I didn't role play. Why? Because role play's not my thing. Okay? Go fail with a real person then. I want you to role play honestly. Don't throw crap at each other. Be honest. Right now, you're going to turn to your friend. You're going to ask a series of questions. Friend, have a need. Let a need of selling a house, a fear, a concern, or something. Then I want you to use one of those 3 of the focus 5 to come back and say, let me share with you how cool I can handle that. Get into one of them, explain how it can help, and then end with is that something you would like? Or if I could provide that, could I have your list? Okay, turn to your neighbor and begin.
Okay, after you do one, make sure you switch, so both people do it once.
After you do one, make sure you switch so everybody has it when you're talking.
One more minute, make sure you have a little conversation. Okay. We're still talking, you might be talking too much, not sure. Okay, folks, same with us at our satellite offices. Let's get back.
Quiet.
Thank you. Okay, raise your hand. Someone give me some feedback. What did you learn? What did you experience? Just want a couple feedbacks from doing this. It is uncomfortable. Raise your hand if it is uncomfortable. Woohoo, that's like walking the first time, guys. So you can crawl the rest of your life, or you can keep working on it. Somebody else. Feedback. Yes. So you carried the skill along for a while. Bingo. It gets easier when you keep doing it. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Your potential listing agent was a good listener, but after listening, did they deliver? Fantastic. Anybody else?
Yeah, he did not try to solve, he just kept asking great questions. And not trying to. Oh.
Awesome. So a lot of good discovery. Guys, discovery is paramount. I'd rather you be great at discovery than anything else because malpractice occurs constantly with us. So I want to tell you one skill.
Dan,
Yes.
someone said in here, we struggled with what question to ask to find their problem that we could solve.
Thank you, JD. So we struggled with what question to ask. So let me give you my questions one more time. And again, they're being recorded. If I'm talking to a seller, the first thing I ask is, why are you selling this beautiful home? You know, I say something nice about it. It's open-ended. It's why. I want them to talk to me. My second question is when. When do you need this transaction to be completed or closed? Another one I like to ask, which I didn't say the first time, when they give me a time frame, I go, what's driving your deadline? What's driving it? Then the next question usually gets into, if it doesn't sell within your time frame, do you have a plan B? Because guys, I always want to know if they're sitting there 1 foot in, 1 foot out with, I'll just rent it or something. I want to know that. Then I always like to ask, have you begun? This is if they're going to go somewhere, so you can ask, where will you be moving to? Where will you be moving to? So we know if they're local or out. And then have you begun looking at new properties? And when they say yes, I ask, what are you using to look at them? And I always love it when they go, oh, I'm online. Because what they just did was validate all of your online exposure you're going to talk about in a second. And I can do things like this. And where did you go again to look at homes? Oh, we went on Realtor.com. Do you know how things end up on Realtor.com? And don't make it sound like everyone does it. Say, we use a system that they draw from to make sure that they have the most current market data. You will be one of those people on Realtor.com. They're like, oh, cool. By the way, they'll go look for it as soon as they list with you. Then my last two are, what is most important to you in the company and agent you hire to sell your home? What is most important to you in the company and agent you hire to sell your home? Now they describe their personal needs or concerns.
Dan, I need someone that will stay in touch with me and keep me informed. Dan, I need someone that will get out there and get it done. I need someone to be active. I can't wait. I love when they tell me their personal need. And then I follow that up with asking them, what would it take for you to feel that I'm meeting your expectation? Now they define it. Guys, if you ask those questions, I found in all my years and thousands of appointments, you're going to get a lot of conversation. And if you're listening, like I heard some of our people were very good at, you're going to hear the specific needs that they have. If you understand your winning differences, you can bring them to bear and win because you're solving problems. I hope that helped. Okay, I'm going to give you one skill I need you to work on that was watered down during the boom before I give you a couple other things you can do to start down this path of balance. And then I'll take some questions. 21 minutes, take some questions. Do you have a question? That I've met your expectations. Remember that follows, I asked them what's expected of me, and then what would it take for you to feel I'm meeting it? Guys, I love this. I love when I get someone that says, Dan, I just need to get this done. I know the market shifted. You know, what I'm looking for is someone who can get it done. Well, what would it take for you to feel I met your expectation? That you're out there doing something. I love when they say that because my whole presentation is about proactivity. And then the other thing I do to those people is I close them really, really hard. I go, so can we go ahead and get started now? And they're like, easy, Dan. And then I smile and I go, I did that on purpose. And they're like, why? I said, you just told me you need someone to get it done. I'm showing you I can get it done. Should we get started now? And then they smile and go, okay. Because literally I'm giving them exactly what they've asked for. Okay, the one skill I want you to really work on right now is called conversion skill. If you're in the market, if you're working your sphere, if you're talking to people, if you're wearing your name badge, through the boom, through the fear of missing out market, I didn't have to convert, they converted me, correct? How many people had to fire the bucket out of you because you weren't available when they wanted you during the boom? Raise your hand. You know, it's like, hey, that's gone now. What that did to us is stop our conversion. Someone would come to us, we gave them gold, I said. We told them about ourselves. They're like, okay, how do we do this? They closed us. So we're in the habit of giving away gold. Stop giving away gold. If someone asks you for your intellectual knowledge, I want you to get good at old school conversion. It's called a fair trade. If you ask me about the market, I'm going to politely go, hey, you know what? It's real complex right now. I'd be happy to consult with you on that. Could we get a cup of coffee one morning and I can sit down, or can I come by the house and we can get through this? I always go to an appointment. I don't say it's a listing appointment. I'll have a cup of coffee to consult with someone for free. But if I can get them to say yes and go to the next level to sit down one-on-one with me for a purpose, I'm on my way to a listing. But what I also can do is give all the gold away. What's going on? Well, the market's pretty complex. You got to be with some of the windows what they're doing. And then go, thank you. And you drive by and someone else assigns them you. What happened there was you prepped them for what they needed and they found it in something. Because you gave away the gold. I'm just going to give you a quick, I have an owner. I don't coach agents anymore. I coach executives and owners. And I help the company get their balance sheet right to position them to sell. We got the place sold. They loved me. One of the two ladies that owned the company said, I'm going to go back to selling. I said, great. She called me about, I don't know, 3 months after the sale. And she goes, Dan, will you coach me? And I said, I don't do agent coaching. She goes, but I was an owner. And I make good money when they sell their company. And she goes, I paid you a lot of money. And I go, okay, I'll coach you for a short period of time. So I get her on the phone, we get talking, and I go, so what's wrong? She goes, Dan, I'm 47 years in the business. Now, granted, I stepped away from actively selling when I had the company. She said, but I've got this whole huge sphere, and I'm doing everything I've taught my agents to do, and nothing's happening. It's concerning. I went right to conversion. I said, role play with me. Tell me about how you're getting in the market. She goes, well, I still sponsor the spring this or this, that. I go, what happens when you're there? She goes, like, the people. I said, okay, I'm going to be one of your people. Guys, I asked her like 5 things about the market. She gave me everything I asked. Oh, and this, oh, Dan, you have to be careful here. And then this, I went, okay, thanks.
And she goes, see, I'm talking to people. I go, see, they're giving away the gold. She goes, what do you mean? I said, I have no reason to meet with you again. You just gave me every answer you had. I said, you have to convert. So we role played conversion. In 3 sessions, that's 6 weeks, she took 4 listings. She goes, I cannot believe it was that simple. She said, I had all the contact I needed. I just wasn't getting to the next level. I was giving them what they wanted. They didn't know to close me. I walked away. They walked away and did business with someone else that was hurting my feelings. Now I'm converting. They're meeting me for coffee. They're letting me in the house. Conversion technique, guys. Something I would practice when I'm back at the office or something. I get someone on the phone and go, hey, let's practice this. Talk to me like we met in public. Let me see if I can even get those words out of my mouth. Conversion technique. Any questions on that? How many people know that you give away gold? Raise your hand. Stop giving away gold, guys. Requires something from them to get the gold. Okay, with the little bit of time I have left, I want to leave you with my fast 5s. Business development is about starting that balanced approach. There's 2 ways you can business develop. There's passive, that's where they find us. Passive is they find us. That's postings and videos and postcards and mailers and emailers. Passive. Then there's active, we find them. That's calling, immersing myself in the marketplace, having conversion technique, knocking, being the trusted advisor in the marketplace. You have to have a balance of both, guys. Don't misunderstand me. I just didn't just say that passive is bad. No, what I said is passive is not balanced. You got to have a balance of these as well to succeed today. You can give a lot of good information out there and they'll go find someone who's being proactive to do business with. You've got to be both. The trusted advisor and the proactive person. And please don't fool yourself. I was fooled, guys. Part of my failure in the beginning of my business was I listened to these outside companies telling me, buy this thing, mail this thing, do this thing. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I literally paid for things I didn't have money to pay for. Went back to my house, looked in the mirror and went, this was a good week. I got some stuff out there, something's going to happen. And I had a false sense of security as I was slowly going out of business. Because we didn't have training back then like we have now to tell me, Dan, you can't just be active. If you're not active, you won't get there. So I want you to have a little of both. So I'm going to give you, call it my active, take a picture when I get done with it. This is my active 5. First one, my core 300 for my SWAT people, you know what that is? That is your top 300 sphere of influence people that you will engage. We have to talk to them once a quarter, make sure we're getting something out to them monthly. That is one of my active 5. Second one, 1-5-48. 1-5-48 is where you spend 1 hour a day, business day, 5 days a week, 48 weeks a year. Your only goal in that 1 hour is to be somewhere in the public where you meet someone you didn't know and you have a conversation with them about real estate. I'm not telling you to go meet 10 people. I'm telling you go out 1 day a week for 1 hour and run into one person that sees your name badge or something and says, hey, you're real estate. Yes. And you have a conversation. You understand convert them, so you try to convert them. If you will do that, 1-5-48, you will have met 240 people in 1 year you did not know. If meeting 240 people you did not know does not bring you enough business, we need to talk. That's the easiest active of my active 5. FSBOs and for rent by owners. There's a trend going around the nation right now. I have some large property management companies as clients where they're finding their single property landlords are not wanting to spend the money necessary to keep their property up. These single property landlords that they have were people that didn't sell for some reason that wanted to. So what we're finding is some of these companies are getting rid of single landlords because they won't pay for things needed and it looks bad on the property management company, or they don't want to spend the fee anymore and they're doing it themselves. For rent by owners is just one step away from listing a house, guys. So stop just looking for FSBOs, find for rent by owners as well.
But both of those are in the marketplace right now. Next one is expired, but go back 6 months. Go back 6 months because 6 months ago, the number one thing I heard from all the agents that I talked to that were doing expireds is people wanted to wait. So you might have an old expired that didn't come back on the market that was waiting, that might have changed their mind, and you can be the person to solve their problem. Another active opportunity. And then the fifth one is to canvas every time you get a listing. Just listed, the week it goes on the market, but I need you to walk some of those just listed. Mail some, depending on the geographic area. If it's dense enough population, I'm a 200 person. Mail 175, walk 25. If you've got a more rural area and it's spread out, you might walk 10 and mail 50, I don't know. But what you want to do is make sure that just listed gets out immediately. And then if you can do an open house, I would follow a week later with an open house invitation. And then when you get it sold, just sold. Now, I won't say every time I did this back in the day, but almost every time I did those three things on a listing, I got another listing. Someone in the neighborhood referred me to somebody, or they were ready to list. So this keeps you alive and running on the balanced approach. Can everyone in this room pick something out of there to be active on? Raise your hand if you feel you can pick something in there. Okay, so I just need you to be doing something active. Not all five, pick one and be purposeful. My passive 5. Now, again, you have to have both. So just because I'm giving you 5 passives doesn't mean it's the only thing you can do. My first passive 5 is the video or unsolicited CMAs. What I want to do is grab my sphere of influence, and I want to make sure I'm sending 3 to 5 of these out to them every week for 48 weeks. And all is doing a quick CMA. I can do it through video. You guys got great video talent in this company, or you can just do it and email it. But your talk track goes something like this. Remember, this is one of your core 300s. Hey, JD, Dan at CB Schmidt, I was doing evaluation in your neighborhood and thought you might be interested in it as well. So I thought I would forward it to you. If you have any questions about it, please reach out. So I told him I was already doing a review in his market area. Thought I would include him so he could see what's happening. Got any questions, call me. Those are generating a lot of calls right now because, again, uncertainty, looking for that trusted advisor. Second one, social media, prospecting in your PJs. My SWAT agents know this too. You wake up in the morning, you get on social media, and you go to the homepage of the people in your friends list, not the news feed. Every morning, I'm going to go to 5 friends, start at the top of the list, and work my way down. When I go to their homepage, I see everything they're doing. I don't see filtered material. What I'm looking for is them to say something that says they might be interested in the transaction. Empty nesting, problems with the housekeep upkeep, something that I see that then I'm just going to reach out and say, hey, let's get lunch. I'm not going to talk to them on social media. Say, it's been a while since we talked, let's get lunch. Bring up what you saw at lunch. They might have a need. Guys, that takes you can have coffee in the morning and knock out your 5. Email FSBOs online. Same approach that we have in SWAT, which is the assistance approach. I'm going to find online FSBOs, email them directly with a suggestion to improve their listing. Hey, this is Dan with Cole Banker Schmidt. I was looking at your listing online and saw that your pictures are a little not as good as they should be. I thought that if you would redo your pictures and get a better shot of this and this, your listing would show better. If you have any questions, reach out to me. All I'm doing is giving them help. If you give a online FSBO help twice, 1, 2, third one, you just email and say, I have a lot more ideas that might help you. Would you like to get together? After getting 2 positive things from you and you not hounding them for their listing, you got a shot. They might go, yeah, let's get together, and you can begin the FSBO approach to become their listing agent. Help wanted, buyer canvassing. In the old days, we used to knock doors to do this. If I had a buyer that wanted to live in a neighborhood, we would go knock that neighborhood till we found that buyer a house. While doing that, we found listings. Knock, knock, hi, it's Dan with Coager. I've got the Smiths just moved into town. They wanted to live in this area, but we can't seem to find the house that they need. So I promised I'd reach out to the neighbors until I found them a house. Who do you know that's thinking of selling in the community? Just gonna ask that question, who do you know? And while I'm doing that, I might end up with a listing that the Smiths didn't want. And I always tell agents this, don't go pretend you have a buyer, actually use a buyer. Because when you use a real buyer, you're more passionately talking about it. You know, Bob and Mary Smith with their twin daughters, they want to get back into this school district. They lived here before, they were raised here themselves. It's a more passionate conversation when you're doing this. Now, if you're not going to go knock it, this is why knock and walk. This is why it's passive. You can send really creative, or get real creative these days, and with your marketing department, you can do it. Help wanted postcards. Big help wanted on one side, and on the other side is the story. Got a buyer trying to get back in the neighborhood, told him I would canvass the area till we found him a house. Who do you know that's thinking, or if you're thinking of it, give me a call. And you just pay for that neighborhood. That's happening a lot around the nation right now. I like to elevate that passive, if it's me, where I'm just gonna write 5 personal notes every morning and slowly pepper that neighborhood so they get a personal note card instead of some printed thing. So I think they'll open up a hand-addressed envelope and read that personal note quicker than they'll look at that postcard. So that's another passive. Number 5, volunteer, be visible, be branded. Know the community schedule, know what's happening in your community, and get involved. Be visible. Now, if I can get you to do 1 off of each list for the rest of the 4th quarter, consistently and purposefully, I promise you, you'll be kicking butt come January 1. But if you want to follow that online news magazine, you can wait till the market comes back. I found 37 articles on AI you can read while you're waiting. Okay, let me give you how to execute, and then I'm going to start packing up as my ride is already standing up in the back of the room. On-purpose execution, here we go. Here's the first thing. You need to keep role-playing and practicing, guys, because you said it wasn't comfortable, and you guys said, what do I ask to find it? If we don't practice this technique, we will not want the appointment. It's called a layered fear. If I don't practice how to walk in someone's house and ask these questions and do these techniques, I have an internal fear of if they said, yes, I got to do that, oh my God. Layer that on top of, I got to talk to someone I don't know, oh my God. I'll just work buyers. That seems easier. And that's what happens to us. But if I can get you to master going in someone's house, you have a desire to get an appointment. And that's where I want you to be. So work on that mastery. And then to make sure you execute, here's your steps for execution. 1, determine and measure what you're going to do. What are your 2 things? What's your active and passive? Determine it, master it. 2, use your week at a glance. Block time management to carve out the time to do those things. You don't need 100 hours. I told you 1,548 is an hour a day. 3rd, be tenacious. Never, ever, ever quit. You will not be a hero in a week doing this. You won't be a hero in a month doing this. But you give me 3 solid months, you give me a whole quarter of doing something on purpose, you'll see results. You will feel amazing. Tenacious, never, ever quit. Next one is be disciplined. You have to protect that block of time. Watch this. Let's see how honest we can be. Managers, ask the same question. Look for hands here. Raise your hand if you've ever done block management, where you put blocks of time for stuff. Raise your hand if you've ever done block stuff. Watch this. Raise your hand if you ever caught moving, if you've ever caught yourself moving something you just didn't want to do, so you moved it down the road. Raise your hand. That's not keeping it sacred. That's not protecting it. I want you to be disciplined. If you wrote it down, you do it. I have a saying for myself. A goal set must be met. It is not an option. If I write it down, I do it. If I'm not going to do it, don't write it down. I found myself fooling myself with a beautiful calendar that I never executed on when I was younger. Now my calendar is much more sparse, but everything on it I do. Because I'm committed to it. Because you can plan a beautiful day that you go, man, that looks great, and then not do it. And the last one, please make this a way of life, guys. The market has changed. You must change as well. If you can change this into a way of life, break the bad habits, You will have the greatest year, I'm telling you, ever next year. Because everyone else is waiting for that market to come back. It might not come back to their liking for a while. Any final questions? No?
The enthusiasm is overwhelming.
I tell you.
Mark's got a question.
Yes.
Like, what's 2024?
Little snapshot for me. 2024, I think you're going to see Q2 moderate interest rates. Because I think Q2, the Fed's going to get out of selling the bonds so much because they'll have control over inflation and it's an election year. So I think you're going to see moderation in interest rates in Q2. That's why if you start right now being that balanced agent, building some inventory, you're going to have an amazing life. Q1 is going to be scary, I think. I think it's going to be scary for a lot of people because I don't know if the Fed will be clear enough to the market come Q1. And I think that's going to cause nervousness. So I want you to ignore that. I don't think you're going to see rates better than the high fives when they do moderate. But I think if someone handed someone a 5 7/8 rate now, they'd jump. Would you guys agree? So I think we're going to see fives coming into the latter part of next year. One of the reasons I feel this way, guys, is I work with New Zealand, and New Zealand's Federal Reserve attacked their market 7 months earlier than we did. So 7 months before our Fed attacked our market, New Zealand's Fed acted. Their market came to a screeching halt. Everybody was scared. The last 2 months, their market has slowly come back. The rates are moderating, and they're having amazing times right now. Not like the boom, like pre-boom, just strong, good market. I'm on my way there in November to see them, and I think we're about 6, 7 months behind them. That puts us going into the second quarter, so I'm quite confident that you're going to see a more healthy market come the second quarter. Anyone else? Yes. I do their house, but I tell them that I just did their neighborhood, so I just adjusted it to their own. He said, do we send the exact thing we did with someone else? And by the way, this is where I do fabricate a little bit. I don't wait to do a CMA in a neighborhood to send to my people. I just do it. I just happen to be doing some work in your neighborhood, so I can get them out. Anyone else?
Someone asked, you have any commentary on commercial real estate right now?
Commercial real estate, depending on what part you're in. If you're dealing in the sale of real estate, like in large parcels with people that have leveraged themselves, that's going to be the biggest challenge with commercial real estate. We went through it in the late 80s, where because of the changes in the market conditions, that was where the phase of loan debacle thing happened. And they called a lot of notes due and raised rates on people as the commercial loans turned over. We got a lot of commercial people leveraged very, very heavily, and going from 3 to 7% is going to make the numbers not work. So if you work commercial, work in an area that is still strong. Be careful being in the area that is challenging. So what's strong depends on your market. I've got like Central Florida right now, leasing. Office leasing is strong as can be right now, but you don't want to represent someone to sell a building right now. But if you're doing leasing or managing, you're killing it. So find the sweet spot, stay out of the difficult ones, and supplement it with residential sales while you're waiting for that to turn. Anybody else? I always told my commercial guys and gals who used to mock residential agents going, I don't like doing residential. I go, okay, go broke then. I'm like, if you want to stay alive in a market that has turmoil in commercial, go sell some real estate. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you. It's been an honor, and I hope to see you on Friday.
All right.